Q is for Spiritual Vision Quest. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the spiritualist perspective for creating a vision quest spiritually rather than with drugs, isolation and deprivation, or having a near-death experience. I think you'll find the process quite wonderful. This video is part of our Spiritualism AtoZ+123 series, where I share with you from a spiritualist perspective different terminology, definitions, and distinctions to help you see whether spiritualism, as a philosophy, set of principles and practices, is the right path for your spiritual growth and development this lifetime. Hi, I'm T.S. Hall, the Stoic Medium, and I'm the spiritual director of Spirit360 Fellowship. We are an online spiritualist church designed for spiritual but not religious people. We do not practice your grandma's spiritualism. We are not a pseudo-Christian organization. We are a spiritual organization that helps you have direct spiritual experiences, to learn the language of spirit by mastering your psychic and healing abilities in displayable, verifiable, unmistakable ways. If this rings true, if it feels right, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, joining our community of like minds and kindred spirit, so we can walk parallel paths towards spiritual perfection this lifetime. Again, welcome. The quest for visions, the quest for awakening, the quest for spiritual information and insight is as old as consciousness is in humanity. All cultures everywhere seek information from the spiritual realm, from the invisible realm, from the other side in various ways. One of the most common is the use of drugs. The problem with the use of drugs is it's not within your control. You can have a bad trip. You should have someone be there with you while you're having the experience. The alternative has always been isolation and deprivation, where basically you deprive your physical body of human contact and nourishment and sometimes even water until you have a vision quest, if you will. You meet your spirit animal. You get some overall sign that helps you figure out your direction in life. It seems to me that the last, having a near-death experience, is the source of people wanting to have these vision quests. From time to time, our body comes very close to dying. We don't actually die, but we come really darn close. And that's where all the stories and superstitions about heading into the light and having all of these spiritual experiences come from, where we experience life without the constraints of this physical body. These near-death experiences are life-altering for many, but you almost die. And that's the way that the isolation and the drugs work, is they take your body to the threshold of life and death, and when your spirit body leaves the physical body, some interesting things can happen. But again, it's very drastic and oftentimes not within your control. Fortunately, there's an easier way. And you can train yourself to experience this on command anytime you want, without any drugs, isolation, deprivation, or nearly dying. If you're interested, here we go. Everybody I've met who has been willing to have this conversation with me has had some experience of some supernatural, metaphysical, psychic, or spiritual connection or information from time to time. Doesn't happen often, and it certainly doesn't happen predictably, and it absolutely doesn't happen when we need it most. If that's true for you, if it rings true, if it feels right, if you know that somehow that just seems like it's going to work, then the next thing I'm going to share with you will make a lot of difference. There are two times where our mind and body and spirit align naturally, where we are naturally open to spiritual information. And it's during these two times where we can begin the process of consciously remembering our spiritual experiences, our spiritual visions, our spiritual insights, if we choose to. These two times are during our slide into sleep and our slide out from sleep. So we don't lay down, drop off to sleep, stay asleep, wake up, and are fully conscious. Our bodies slowly start to relax, slowly start to drift off to sleep. And then we fall asleep. Then we kind of go up and down in different depths of sleep, and then until we start to slide back into awakeness. It's during this slide to sleep and slide to awakeness that we are most receptive to psychic and spiritual information. By psychic, I mean stuff from your own spirit. By spiritual, I mean stuff from our spirit guides and teachers. Now, our spirit guides and teachers fortunately know that this is our ideal time. And for many, this slide to asleep and slide to awakeness is when they have the most profound psychic experiences. You start to wake up and your mom or your dad or your grandmom or your aunt or your uncle or your dear lost friend who's on the other side is standing next to your bed, or sometimes a complete stranger. Sometimes you wake up and just as you're on the cusp of awakeness, the idea comes in that solves a problem you've been working on. You can train yourself to have this intentional spirit quest by allowing yourself to be consciously aware that you are in the space of spiritual receptivity on your slide to awakeness. For me, it's much easier to control myself on the slide to awakeness than it is on my slide to asleep. When I lay down, head hits the pillow, bam, I'm asleep within 2 or 3 minutes. Usually I'm tired and exhausted when I lay down. But on my slide to awakeness, I can wake up very quickly, but then I can stay quiet and my body will start to go back down into a quiet, receptive place, a place I like to call the eye of the storm, a place where it's a safe harbor, where our body and spirit are at the threshold of consciousness. So this is where you can have a spiritual vision quest. The most important aspect of this is to make sure you've got a journal right next to your bed, or a tape recorder, or your phone. Because when this information comes in, it usually comes in quickly, subtly, and into short-term memory. Sometimes the experience will be so profound, it's life-changing and you'll never forget it. But most of the time, you'll know something happened. Because you remember, you're right on that threshold between awakeness and sleep. So you could come in and have an event, and then go back to sleep and never remember it again. Or you can hover there, and then all of a sudden you have to wake up because you're running late for work, and you never remember it again. So you want to write these things down into a spiritual or psychic journal so you can remember them. But practice this and start to develop your ability to, on command, hover in that slide between awakeness and asleep. Dwell there. Experience this place of quiet receptivity, this place of thinking tranquility. And as you hover in this place between sleep and awakeness, simply observe what happens. Then take notes, and then come back later and see if it feels right, if it rings true. It's very easy to tell the difference between your thinking mind and your intuitive mind, if you're willing to see the truth and avoid the delusions of hopeful and wishful thinking. That's a spiritual vision quest. You can easily pass through it a couple of times a day. And once mastered, interesting things can happen. In the comments below, share some of your experiences during this twilight time between sleep and awakeness. I always enjoy seeing and hearing the experiences of others. But more importantly, how did you share how you knew that it was really from spirit and not from your mind? Did you find this video useful? If so, give us a thumbs up. Let us know, YouTube know, but more importantly, other spiritual but not religious people know that you found it helpful. Consider sharing this video in your other spiritual communities so you can walk with others in sharing your spiritual vision quests. And the last thing to share with you is consider joining us for a live Zoom Spiritualist Church service. We offer them every Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. During our live Zoom services, we connect, we meditate, we do some healing, we talk about spiritual vision quests and other topics. You can ask me questions about your meditation and other spiritual practices. I offer each person in attendance a message from our spirit guides and teachers. To get your invite, go to spirit360.org and click the Get Your Invite button, and we will email you instructions how to join us. With that, I want to thank you for your time and attention. You've shared both generously. I hope you found it beneficial and worthwhile. And until next time we connect, I want you to ponder this koan and what it means for you in your life. That spiritual is as spiritual does.